Welcome to my channel. If you don't know me, I'm Cynthia Greer, spiritualist who works at the in-depth level of the soul. And my goal is to help you access more brain power than the 10% that most humans on this earth use, because they have been classified as ADD, or have that belief that we can't go any further than what is deemed acceptable in boxes that put limitations on us. I help you to do this so that you can access higher consciousness and begin to comprehend the power of the magnificent God that created you in divine likeness and image, with abilities and talents that you may not even be aware of because you have been pulled down into the matrix of lower thinking and limitation, which is projected on all of us through social media and through the belief systems that have placed all of us in caste systems and categories. If you like what I am talking about here, please press the like, subscribe, share, and notification buttons. It takes money, time, and effort, and nobody sponsors or monetizes this channel or any of the work that I have in publication. I do everything on my own. So, when you support what I do in that way, it helps to get these messages out. Who is the woman who has a trauma bond that is so deep she remains in inertia for most of her life, if not all of her life, because she's too frozen in fear to move out of situations that she has long outgrown and are incompatible with her true soul essence. Before I move further on this subject, I want to remind you, I am not a doctor, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, any of those things. My education is in the arts and in speech and communication. I have close to 45 years now of spiritual development in the areas of world religions and mysticism and deep transcendental meditation, which I have studied with a legitimate teacher who is very highly evolved. Anything I talk about on this channel comes from 100% true experience that I have been through myself, or I have observed through those I have helped in the past because they have reached out to me for guidance. And I am not someone who is quick to take on personal consultations or readings anymore at this point in my life, as I only work with people who are serious about their spiritual path, doing the soul clean out, and moving forward with their lives to become all they can be. So as I move into this subject of women who are trauma-bound, and the way that I have actually seen and experienced the ability to come out of it and live a full and complete life happens when an individual is truly ready to look at where it all began and what the culprit really is. Now, there is a pattern with women who trauma bond. And what I see, the first thing, is codependence, because many grew up in a home environment where they were either completely physically abandoned, to where there was no love shown, no display of affection, and many times the personal needs, the necessities of life, basic stability in food and clothing and education were not available. Now, other women had these things, and it appeared normal on the outside to everyone else. But the issue of narcissism, condemnation, and criticism that come with that, mental abuse, and perhaps even physical abuse, were all neatly kept under wraps and swept under the table. So it looked like her life was perfect. There are many aspects to where the trauma bond begins and not. There is no one size fits all. Always remember that. Trauma bonding can come through a past life. It can come through the DNA, your very ancestry. Where if you look at your genealogy, you can go back generations and see what women have stayed in and the denial that they have put themselves in, and how everything has been covered up. But when you are ready to really get to the bottom of it, you have to face the cold, hard facts. And one of the biggest ones I see with women are wanting to be rescued from life. I've always found that trauma-bonded women usually have quite a bit of talent. But unfortunately, that talent has been suppressed because it was never recognized. They were not in an environment to where it was encouraged, to where financial assistance was put into it at an early age to help it grow and develop. So as a result, the woman with all of this talent didn't have the self-confidence because of the fear in having to go out in the world and compete with others who had the opportunities to groom those talents and abilities. And when a woman is insecure on that level, she will often have a tendency to do things to cover it up, to build a wall around her because of the shame that comes with it. And so when someone does reach out to help her, she will immediately react in anger and viciousness as a means of self-defense, because getting to the bottom of it is just too painful. And this is what I have found in my many years of working with women, that many of them I can only go so far with before the rage comes out and they start snapping because they can't let go of the old patterns. Now, what are some of the old patterns that hold you back? Well, the first one is any kind of addiction, whether it is to alcohol, smoking, drugs, and this includes legal recreational drugs and sexual addiction and addiction to romance, to trying continually to find someone to latch onto to make your life better because you simply do not want to take responsibility for it in any way, shape, or form. Because if you are truly honest with yourself, and we all have to be, there is always room for improvement. There are always changes that we can make. And when we are in a position where we are not happy with our lives, in order to truly shift the energies, we have to live in the present moment. We basically have to embrace it. whether it is poverty, whether it is the fact that we are facing the abusive relationship we are in and we know that we have to physically get out of it, or it's a bad job with abusive coworkers and abusive boss, lies, deceit. We have to see all of that for what it really is and not try to take a quick escape route to get out of it. Because when you are living in the present moment and you are at that lowest point and you are seeking divine guidance at a soul level, either help with a legitimate spiritual practitioner that knows what they are doing, some form of clergy within your church, or psychotherapy, or a support group. When you step on to that path, God is working in your life. And God has many channels, many, many, many on this earth. So whatever channel is working with you is a doorway to accessing higher knowledge that is going to divinely take you into higher consciousness. The other massive issue here is that women who have trauma bonded because they have known nothing but abuse mentally, lots of condemnation, lots of criticism, will want to latch on to a man to make it better. And what I see that many do who are pursuing a spiritual path, and they are opening at a soul level, but they haven't harnessed the knowledge because they haven't yet worked through the patterns of addiction and abuse. In their defensiveness, will try to create an online situation, and they will grasp at straws. And because they are so disconnected, and they want so much to believe someone is going to come in and rescue them, they are a prime target for psychopathic, abusive men that are mind effing, and you know what that means, on the internet. And I have seen it where women really believe that these men are what they say they are. What they're saying they are, but they are not. And in their mind, they are creating these big relationships and planning marriages And they get very outlandish and very, very grandiose in what they talk about. And when I have tried to pull women back down to earth, one of the biggest issues I get is, well, I'm spiritual. I don't want to be bitter. I want to have faith. Yet they really haven't grasped what it means to have faith. Many women want to escape. And ladies, I'm going to tell you this right now. Men of worth are not looking for women on the internet. Real men of worth who really have it together are not going to seek out a woman who is neglecting herself, and it's obvious that she is, who has low self-esteem, is in a job that she hates, and is looking for a man to rescue her and give her an entire new life. That is illusion. And that is one of the biggest reasons so many women are suffering during this timeline. And they are spending weeks, days, and months. And I have met women that have gone through numerous men online. And some have hung on and corresponded for years. And the weight piles on. The body gets out of whack. The mental health goes. The resentment, the anger, and the bitterness takes over. And the creativity is further suppressed. So one rule of thumb to remember is that anything that you are going to gain in life, when it boils down to it, you have to earn it yourself. You have to be willing to become that channel for the divine. Because it is all about your raw spirituality, your consciousness, your soul that you embodied into this physical body during this timeline for very specific reasons. Nobody can do it for you. No husband can do it for you. Even if you are blessed with a wonderful partner, you cannot burden a man of worth to look after a woman who is so broken that she is going to psychically pull his energy to do what he needs to do to continue in his career and make a home. It just doesn't work. And I've seen this time and time again. The brokenness that comes with the trauma bonding of any kind of abuse that you have been through, no matter how far back it goes, needs to be looked at and referenced as to why the behavior patterns of codependency and grandiose ideas that cannot come into fruition because mentally and emotionally you are collapsing and have gone to that state of delusion. One thing I see so much is that many women who are sitting in complete poverty, who are in the working poor class, when I make a legitimate suggestion to them about how to change their life, which is always going to be, when you are at your lowest point, you have to look at what you do have, and you have to work with what you do have, even if it seems like it isn't a lot. If your heart is open and you are willing to work, you are willing to do things to heal your life, and you are willing to take jobs that are stepping stones, as you heal, you can begin to pursue things that you were unable to pursue when you were blocked in the abusive situations, so they never began to develop. But women don't want to do that. The majority that I meet want to start way up at the top. They want it all right now, and they want it at the highest level that it possibly is, and they want to do everything in grandiose style. I have been told, I don't want to live in an apartment, I want to live in a house. I'm going to buy property with no down payment and no job to support those things. I hear this all of the time. Or, I want to just do my own thing. I want a man who is going to support me. I have heard this. I've talked about it before in another video. Yet, nothing comes out of their mouth about what they could give back to someone else. It's all about what they want. Same thing with book publishing. If you feel that you really have a message to get to the world and you've been guided and directed to do it, you'll bring that message forth and you'll go on faith and say, okay, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, I'll do it. But I always hear, oh, I'm going to have someone pay me ahead of time. I'm going to have someone who's going to represent me. And with every one of these women that have taken this attitude with me, 10 years later, they're right where they were when I first met them. So this is something to think about with the trauma bonding. And what it is, if you or someone that you know that you're passing this video down to has trauma bonded, these are the keys, as well as staying in relationships with men, looking for someone until you find someone, and then being treated shabby and abusively after the honeymoon phase is over. These are the patterns right here. And always remember this: anything that is of the divine, anything that is of God, is going to be enriching and fulfilling, even in the beginning stages of manifestation, the times of uncertainty, the times of a tight budget, challenges, when you have plugged into faith, you have plugged into divinity. You know that by working on yourself and full self-growth is going to get you where you need to be. And you're not going to have to grovel and beg and seek out attention, whether it is digitally on the internet, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me all the time, or whether it is trying to bring someone into your life and trying to keep it together when you know it is a complete dead end. Because God does not create garbage. And He didn't mean for you to live a dead end life. So it's time to realize what your true self-worth is and to move forward in that glorious energy of love and divinity. I wish you so much love and many blessings. Bye for now.